Hello everyone. Today we will discover chapter 6, interest rate and bond valuation. According to Google, bond is a certificate issued by a government or a public company promising to repay borrowed money at a fixed rate of interest at a specified time. So we can clearly see that a bond is a financial tool used by a firms or government in order to raise the money to fund a project. An example could be, let's say a company called ABC, they need $10 million to fund a project, an R&D project, a research and development project. And since they don't have this money, they need money from other source, from people outside the company, most of the time, the public, right? So how do they get the money? There could be two ways. They can either issue stock. We can also call it share or bond. However, depends on your company's situation. If you are a big company, maybe you will issue stock. If you are a small company, you will issue bond. The reason is very simple. As we all know that if you own a stock, you also own a company. So if an owner of a company want to remain his control of the company, he won't issue stock, he won't issue share because it will lower his right. However, if a company decide to issue bond, it's just gonna be a borrowed fund and it will be repaid in the future. So bond is actually a debt that a company have to pay in the future. So there are four elements related to the bonds. The first features is the par value. The par value is also called the face value. And this is gonna be the amount of money that we receive on the maturity date. On the due date. So this is gonna be the amount of money that we let a company borrow, and the company on the due date will pay us back this amount of money. The second element is very important as well. It's the coupon rate. So what is a coupon rate? Basically, if you borrow money, for example, if you go to a bank and you borrow money, what do we have to do? We're gonna have to pay the interest and also the amount of money that we borrow. So similar scenario, if a company issue a bond, they are borrowing your money. So they will have to pay you the interest rate, the interest as well. So most of the time, on top of a bond certificate, there will be an interest rate which require a company to pay you a percentage of the face value annually. So every year, you will receive a coupon payments. So coupon rate is the same thing as the interest rate when we borrow a fund. The third element is the maturity. The maturity means the due date of a bond. There could be 1 year bond, 3 years bond, 10 years, or even 30 years. Last but not least, even though this is not written on a bond certificate, but we all gonna know it because it's available on the internet or the government website or even the stock exchange. It's called the YTM, aka yield to maturity. To explain this term, imagine a market. Inside a market, there are a lot of firms. Example, A, B, C, D firms, etc. So every firm may have different needs. But in this case, let's say all of them need $10 million. So depends on the ability to pay back the debt. each company will have to offer different type of bonds. For example, if company A has low risk, which means that they can easily pay back the debt, they may offer low coupon rate because they have low risk. But if company D, they have high risk, which means they can go bankrupt anytime. They need to offer high coupon rate in order to attract investor to let them borrow the money. Because as an investor, you want to get your return back. You don't want to lose your money. So to compensate for it, a company must give you a very high interest rate so that you will feel less worry about your money loss. Therefore, in a market, people often come up with a general interest rate, which is called the market rate. And the market rate is also the yield to maturity. So the market rate is the most general rate that's decided by all players in a market, so that we can reflect on one kind of bond, whether this kind of bond has an appropriate interest rate or not. On the slide is an example of a bond. As you can see, there are three elements that have been indicated by me in the previous slide. The first thing is the par value, 1000 USD. The due date is on January 1st, 1943. And the coupon rate is 4%. So how do we find a value of a bond or the price of a bond? Let's take a look at this example. Let's say a company called ABC issue a bond with a face value of $100. The payment, which is the coupon payment, is 2% of the face value, which is equal to $2. And the maturity will be 4 years. How are we going to tackle this problem? So first of all, let's take a look at this timeline. So there will be 4 years. So 1, 2 years, 3 years, and 4 years. What do we know about this timeline? Because the coupon payment is $2 per year. So every year, you will receive C, which is equal to $2. And at the end of year number 4, you will receive $100, which is the original amount that you let company ABC borrow. Do you guys see any pattern here? Yes, it's the discounted cash flow valuation that we used to study in the previous chapter. So the bond value is basically the present value of every future cash flow discounted into the current time, year 0, the time that we let company ABC borrow our money. So applying the concept of discounted cash flow valuation, we can easily find the price, which is equal to C over 1 plus R. I will explain what is R later. Plus C over 1 plus R to the power of 2 plus C 1 plus R to the power of 3 plus C 1 plus R to the power of 4. And finally, is the face value, which is 100. So 100 over 1 plus R also to the power of 4. Thanks to the previous example, we have already known how to calculate the bond value or the bond price. So now I will give out the general formula. So the general formula is the bond value will be equal to the coupon payment divided by 1 plus R plus C divided by 1 plus R to the power of 2 plus ... until C 1 plus R to the power of big N plus the par value also divided by 1 plus R to the power of the big N. Knowing that C is the coupon payment. Par value, we already know. And R, very important. Please don't make a mistake. Please don't make a mistake that R and coupon rate are the same thing. They are different things. R is the yield to maturity. And as I have explained before, yield to the maturity is the market rate. And we can only find that one on the internet. Most of the time in an exercise, it will be showcased by the professor alongside with the coupon rate. So we have to stay highly focused in order not to make a mistake. Now that we already know the formula to calculate the bond value, let's try to do it on the BA calculator. Example number 1, we have the coupon rate of 10%. The annual is going to be annual coupons, which means you're going to pay you annually. The par value is $1,000 and the maturity is 5 years. And the YTM, which is the market rate, is 11%. So I just told you guys that make sure you're not going to make a mistake in differentiating between the coupon rate and the YTM. Here we can clearly see that the coupon rate is 10%, while the maturity rate is 11%. So there is 1% difference. So what are the inputs for the BI calculator? First is the maturity, the N. The N will be 5 years since this bond has the maturity of 5 years. So we write 5. And the I over Y is always the YTM. So I over Y is 11. And it's 11, not 11%. Don't put the percentage symbol next to 11. Present value. Present value is what we have to find. Because in this exercise, we have to find the price. So I put question mark. The payment. So this is 10% coupon rate. And the par value is $1,000. So the coupon will be equal to 10% of $1,000, which is $100. So we put 100 for the PMT. And the future value is the par value, which is $1,000. Let's try to type it on the BI calculator. So first of all, 5 N 11 I over Y 100 PMT 1000 future value. Finally, compute CPT PV. The answer is minus 963. So as I explained before, even though there's a minus symbol, we're still gonna take the answer without the minus symbol, the negative sign. So the final answer is 963. How about the second example? The coupon rate is also 10%, and the par value is also $1,000. So we can clearly see that the payment is also $100. However, the maturity is 20 years, so N equal to 20. The I over Y is 8% instead of 11% like the previous example. We're still gonna find the present value. And the future value is the par value still, $1,000. Let's type it in the calculator. So 20 N 8 I over Y 100 PMT and 1000 FV. Finally, we press compute and present value. The final answer gonna be $1,196 US. So we move to the next example now. Example number 3. It's a similar concept. The coupon rate is 10%. The par is also 1,000. The maturity is 5 years. And the YTM now is equal to the coupon rate, which is 10%. This is a very special case. Why do I say it's a special case? Let's try to write the input first. So the N is obviously 5. The I over Y is 10. The PV is a question mark. The PMT is also 100. And the future value is 1000. Well, I don't need to use the BA calculator. I know the answer. The present value will be $1,000. So this is very interesting, and there is a common rule for it. So the reason is because the coupon rate is equal to YTM, the price is also equal to the par value. And this can be explained by the relationship between the coupon and the yield to maturity. Meanwhile, if you guys take a look at the previous example, for example, example number 1, when you see the present value, which is the price, the current price, is smaller than the par value. And the second example, when the face value is smaller than the price, is simply because the YTM is larger than the coupon rate. So the price is smaller than the par value. And when the YTM is smaller than the coupon rate, the price is larger than the par value. And there are different ways to call this kind of bond. The first one we call the par bond. The second one is the discount bond. And the last one is the premium bond. Last but not least, this is also a very important example. In our previous problems, we already discovered the concept of annually paying. But for now, this one is called semi-annual bond. What does it mean? It means instead of receiving the coupon once per year, now you receive twice per year. Every year, 2 times of coupon payments. Let's take a look at this example. The coupon rate is 14%, semi-annual. The par value is 1000. The YTM is 16%, and the maturity is 7 years. So how are we gonna tackle this problem? First of all, they ask how many payments here. So as we can see that the maturity is 7 years, but because it's semi-annually paid. So in total, there has to be 7 times 2 equal 14 payments. So the N, which is the number of the period, will also be equal to 14 instead of 7. So how much money per payment? So the coupon rate is 14%. But because it's semi-annual, so we have to take 14% divided by 2. So how much money we're gonna receive? It's gonna be 1000 times 14% divided by 2, so which is basically 1000 times 7%. And this one will be equal to 70 USD. And then finally, the YTM. What is the YTM? Because it's also semi-annually paid, so we also have to divide the YTM by 2. So 16% divided by 2 equal 8%. Let's try to calculate the price of this bond by using the BA calculator. So first we know that the number of payment is 14. So we type 14 and the I over Y, which is the yield to maturity, will be 8%. So 8 I over Y. The payment is $70 per time. So 70 PMT. The future value will still be $1,000 because at the end of the day, we're still going to receive the face value. So 1000 FV. Now we need to compute the PV. So CPT and PV. The final answer is plus 917.55. So this is gonna be the price of this semi-annually paid bond. This is the end of today's session. Thank you very much for listening.